Welcome to Women on Purpose. My name is Jo, and I'm so glad you're here. Have you ever been told you're too sensitive or too emotional and felt dismissed in the process? If you have, you're not alone. As I talk, you'll see images of women portraying the emotions we all feel from time to time: joy, sadness, frustration, hope, and even vulnerability. Some of us feel these emotions more intensely than others, and that's okay. The hardest part isn't the emotions themselves. It's being told, you're too sensitive, as if your feelings are somehow wrong. But here's the truth. Your emotions are a strength, not a weakness. Together, we're going to explore how to embrace that truth and redefine what it means to feel deeply. Society has long told women, especially those of us who are warm and compassionate, that being emotional or sensitive is a flaw. We're labeled as too much, dismissed, or even made to feel ashamed for expressing what's in our hearts. But here's the truth. Sensitivity is not a weakness. It's a gift. It's what allows us to deeply empathize, form meaningful connections, and show up for others in ways that create real impact. Instead of hiding these qualities, we should celebrate them as essential to our strength and resilience. Together, let's redefine what it means to feel deeply and see it for what it truly is: a powerful force for good. The origins of the label. For far too long, society has placed a higher value on stoicism than vulnerability, creating an unspoken rule that showing emotion is a sign of weakness, especially for women. We've been conditioned to believe that staying composed and quiet is more respectable than expressing how we truly feel. Phrases like too emotional or too sensitive are often used as a way to dismiss our experiences or silence our voices. These labels imply that our emotions are a problem rather than a natural and powerful part of who we are. It's an unfair standard, one that ignores the incredible strength it takes to be open, honest, and authentic. Let's challenge this narrative and reclaim the beauty and power in our emotions. The cultural and gendered aspect. Women have long been disproportionately affected by the stereotype of being too emotional, a bias rooted in historical narratives that have undervalued our voices and perspectives. These labels stem from a time when women were expected to be nurturing, but not outspoken, caring, but not assertive, emotional, but not too much. As a result, many of us have faced barriers to being taken seriously, whether in personal relationships or professional settings. We're told that our emotions make us less rational, less capable, or less credible, which couldn't be further from the truth. These stereotypes not only limit how others perceive us, but also how we see ourselves. It's time to recognize that our emotional depth is not a liability, but one of our greatest strengths. The emotional strength paradox. Isn't it ironic that emotional intelligence is celebrated as a key trait of great leaders and fulfilling relationships, yet being emotional is so often criticized? We're told to empathize, connect, and understand others, skills rooted in emotional awareness. But the moment we express those emotions openly, we're labeled as too much. It's as though society wants the benefits of our sensitivity without the reality of our feelings. This double standard can make us feel like we're walking a tightrope, constantly managing how much of ourselves we can show. But the truth is, our emotions are the very foundation of our strength. They allow us to navigate complex situations, build trust, and inspire others. Instead of hiding them, let's celebrate the power that comes from leading with both heart and mind. Reframing sensitivity as a strength, empathy as a superpower. Sensitivity is often seen as a weakness, but it's actually one of our greatest superpowers. It allows us to deeply understand and connect with others, creating the foundation for strong, meaningful relationships. When we're sensitive, we notice the subtle emotions in someone's tone or body language that others might overlook. This empathy can diffuse conflict by helping us see things from another's perspective, paving the way for mutual understanding. For example, think of a friend who just needed someone to listen without judgment. You likely helped them feel seen and supported in a way only empathy can provide. Sensitivity also shines in problem solving, as it allows us to balance logic with compassion, ensuring solutions that consider both practical outcomes and emotional needs. These abilities strengthen families, friendships, workplaces, and communities. Rather than seeing our sensitivity as a burden, let's embrace it as the gift that helps us make the world a kinder, more understanding place. Courage and vulnerability. Vulnerability often gets a bad reputation, but as thought leader Brené Brown teaches us, it's one of the most courageous things we can do. It takes incredible strength to show up fully, to share our fears, dreams, and emotions, knowing there's a risk of rejection or judgment. Yet it's through vulnerability that we build trust and create deep, meaningful connections with others. Think about the moments when someone let down their guard and shared their truth with you. Didn't it make you feel closer to them? By embracing vulnerability, we allow others to see our humanity, which in turn invites them to show theirs. It's not weakness, it's bravery in its purest form. Sensitivity as a catalyst for action. Sensitivity is often the spark that ignites meaningful action. Think of Malala Yousafzai, whose deep empathy for girls denied education inspired her to become a global advocate for education rights. Closer to home, consider caregivers, women who pour their hearts into supporting loved ones through illness or hardship, creating profound change in individual lives. Sensitivity allows us to see injustices and inequalities that others might overlook and motivates us to take action. It's what drives volunteers to show up for their communities and advocates to speak out for the voiceless. These acts of compassion and care may not always make headlines, but they create ripples of change that make the world better. Sensitivity isn't passive. It's a force that fuels courage, resilience, and transformation. When we channel our emotions into purpose, we can truly move mountains. Navigating the stereotype, acknowledging and owning your emotions. Navigating the stereotype of being too emotional starts with acknowledging and owning your emotions. Sensitivity is not something you need to fix or hide. It's a fundamental part of who you are, and it's worth celebrating. When you accept this truth, you give yourself permission to feel deeply without shame. Practicing mindfulness can help you stay present with your emotions, allowing you to understand and process them rather than feeling overwhelmed. Pair this with self-compassion. Remind yourself that it's okay to have bad days and that your feelings are valid. Instead of judging your emotions, approach them with curiosity and kindness, as if you were comforting a friend. Remember, your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a beautiful strength that connects you to others. Owning this part of yourself is the first step in turning it into your superpower. Setting boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries is essential for protecting your emotional energy and maintaining your well-being. It can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to prioritizing others, but boundaries are an act of self-care, not selfishness. Start by identifying your emotional limits. What feels draining and what replenishes you? Once you're clear, practice communicating these boundaries with kindness and firmness. For example, if someone dismisses your feelings by saying, "You're too sensitive," you can calmly respond with, "I'm allowed to feel this way, and I'd appreciate it if we could have a more respectful conversation." Assertive communication isn't about being confrontational. It's about standing up for yourself in a way that honors your values. Remember, you don't need to explain or justify your boundaries to anyone. Feeling guilty for setting them is natural, but remind yourself that by protecting your energy, you're able to show up more fully in the areas that truly matter. Healthy boundaries create space for deeper, more genuine connections. They're not about shutting people out. They're about inviting mutual respect and understanding in. Flipping the script. When someone criticizes you as being too emotional, you have the power to flip the script with grace and confidence. Instead of internalizing the comment, reframe it in a way that celebrates your qualities. For example, respond with, "I prefer to think of myself as passionate," or "I'm just deeply connected to what matters." These responses highlight the strength behind your emotions, showing that they're an asset, not a flaw. Using humor can also disarm critics. A playful, "Well, someone has to care," can lighten the mood while subtly making your point. Calm and measured responses are another powerful tool, like simply saying, "I see things deeply and I think that's a good thing." This not only deflects the negativity but also invites others to reconsider their assumptions. The key is to stand firm in your truth without becoming defensive. Criticism about your emotions often says more about the critic than it does about you. By responding with poise, you show the world that being sensitive isn't a weakness. It's a gift worth celebrating. Creating a culture of emotional validation. Supporting other women. Creating a culture of emotional validation begins with how we support each other as women. It's so important to lift each other up by listening without judgment and acknowledging one another's feelings. When a friend opens up about her emotions instead of saying, "Don't feel that way," try responding with, "I hear you, and it's okay to feel that." Small shifts like this can make a world of difference, helping her feel seen and understood. When we validate each other's emotional experiences, we create a safe space where vulnerability is not only accepted, but celebrated. This kind of support strengthens our bonds and reminds us we're not alone in what we feel. Together, we can challenge the stereotype of being too emotional by showing the world how powerful it is to honor our feelings and each other. It starts with us, and every act of validation builds a stronger, more compassionate community. Promoting emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a powerful tool for creating healthier workplaces, relationships, and communities. When we understand and manage our own emotions while empathizing with others, we build stronger connections and foster trust. In workplaces, emotional intelligence leads to better communication, collaboration, and conflict resolution. In relationships, it helps us navigate challenges with compassion and patience, strengthening the bonds we share. Imagine how transformative it would be if emotional awareness and validation were taught to future generations. By encouraging young people to name their feelings, listen to others, and respond with empathy, we can break the cycle of dismissing emotions as weaknesses. This ripple effect would create a kinder, more understanding world, where vulnerability is seen as strength. Emotional intelligence isn't just a personal skill, it's a collective gift that can reshape how we live and connect with one another. Let's embrace it and share it with those who come after us. Conclusion. Your emotions are not a weakness. They are your strength, your compass, and your power. I encourage you to embrace every part of yourself, including your sensitivity, and to see it as the incredible gift it truly is. Let's work together to redefine what it means to feel deeply, challenging the stereotypes that have silenced us for far too long. I invite you to share your stories of overcoming the label of being too emotional or too sensitive. Your journey could inspire another woman to see her own worth and reclaim her emotional authenticity. Together, we can create a community where sensitivity is celebrated, not criticized. A place where we lift each other up and lead with empathy, connection, and courage. Let's start today. Being emotional or sensitive isn't a flaw. It's your power. It's what makes you compassionate, resilient, and deeply connected to the world around you. Wear it proudly, and don't let anyone convince you otherwise. You are strong, just as you are, and your sensitivity is a gift that can inspire and uplift others. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this journey with me. If this message resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with the women in your life who need to hear this reminder.